Hello and welcome everyone. My name is FinnCapp and I would like to welcome you to our first video in a new series called Pro Tips from a Mediocre Player. These videos are going to show some of the various farms that I use in our playthrough of Project Ozone 3 Mythic mode and how I build them. Thank you so much for coming along in this build and I hope that it helps you in some way. And without further ado, let's get into the build. So the first farm that we're going to be showing and we're going to be showcasing today is going to be for making liquid plastic. Now, there are various mods that you can use to make the liquid plastic that we're going to use, the main one being the mod that it's for, which is PneumaticCraft. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm personally not a huge fan of PneumaticCraft. I don't particularly care for their machines. I don't care for the way that you have to heat them, the way you have to cover them for them to work correctly. I'm just not a fan and never have been. But there is another mod that you can use to make the liquid plastic, although it takes a little bit more of an initial investment or an initial setup. But to me, it's much better of a system to set up, which we're going to be showing you today, which is through Magneticraft. Essentially what we do, or what we're setting up, is the system for this is using boilers, heaters, water, which makes steam. We are then going to pump that steam into some refineries. Into the refineries, we're also taking liquid crude from the fluid cows. We're pumping those here into these oil heaters. The oil heaters then heat the crude up into hot crude. Pump that into these refineries. The first refinery that it pumps it into will break that fluid down into 3 other fuels. It'll break it down into heavy oil, it breaks it down into light oil, and it breaks it down into LPG. We then take each one of these 3 fluids, pump them into another refinery, and then they get broken down even further to 3 other separate fuels. The first one, the heavy oil, gets broken down into oil residue, which we don't really use for anything, we just store. Breaks it down into fuel, which can be used for when you go to other planets, you can use it basically kind of as the rocket fuel. And it also breaks it down into lubricant. There's not a ton of use for the lubricant, but you can use it for making some of the security upgrades for Mediocre itself. The secondary oil that comes in, which is the light oil, gets broken down into diesel. We don't really use diesel. You can use it if you get into immersive engineering for fuel, but we're not really using it. Again, we're just storing that one. The kerosene is used for a couple of the later recipes, specifically dealing with mechanism that we use, as well as gasoline. Again, stored, we don't particularly use it. But the last one is what we're really after, and what we kind of use is going to be the liquid plastic. We're then making this and using this to make a lot of the plastics that we need for Mediocre and the recipes. The naphtha, we store and we don't use. Natural gas, store and we don't use. And again, this looks like a kind of a lot, and it is a decent if you've never set it up, but I've got all the materials. I'm going to show you how to set up. This is the setup that I've used personally. What we're going to do is I'm going to run you over next door. I have all the material lists that you're going to need, and we're going to show you how to build all of this. So without even more further ado, let's come over to here. This is roughly the size of the platform that I use. Now, obviously, this is not something that you personally have to use. You can make it larger, you can make it smaller, whatever works better for you. This just happens to be the setup that I like. The platform itself, on the outside dimension, which means here where the marble bricks are, is 21 by 21. The inside, which is where all the grass is a 19 by 19. I've then gone and laid out with black wool where each of the machines and the setups are going to go. And then I have this little bump out, which is another inside 3 by 3 for the second machine. Okay, and so what we need here for our material list that we're going to go over is we're going to need 28 RF heaters. These do take power to run. We're going to need 1 infinite water source. We're going to need 10 boilers. The pen for the cows that I use a stack and 7 roughly of clear glass. You can make it out of whatever material you choose. I just happen to like the look of clear glass. We're going to need base 10 Endertanks. You can use more if you're going to use more of the materials, use less, whatever you so choose, but you're going to need to color code those. You can use whatever color you want. I just have these for our purposes. We're going to be turning on the RF heaters. We're going to be powering them through wireless RF. You can power them however you want, as long as you have some sort of power source. And how we do it is we use a wireless RF battery. This hooks into our power source, which then sends the power to these transmitters. The transmitters then send the power out to the various heaters. We are going to need to make 4 of the large tower refineries. So you're going to need 4 of the patterns. Each one of these refineries takes 32 support columns, and they take 48 of the corrugated iron machine blocks. We're going to be making 2 oil heaters, again, 2 patterns. Each one of these takes 14 of the support columns and 12 of the corrugated iron machine blocks. To hold all the various fluids for storage, you are going to need 13 black hole tanks. One of them is kind of optional, which is the crude coming out from the cows, because you shouldn't be storing too much of it, but depending on how you build this, if you build it in stages, it's nice to get that going because you are going to have to kind of build up the cows to get a little bit of the process going. So it's nice to have a little bit of backup to have it running while you're building all the rest of this. We're going to need the animal rancher, and you're going to need to go and get 2 crude oil cows. Obviously, we're going to need a lot more. We can breed them up with wheat, but at the very least, you need 2 to start. So, with the process, with all this, we're going to kind of start off making our first little setup here, which is going to be for the cows. Typically, you come in here, and when you place the rancher, you want to place it from this side. The inside of the rancher is where you're going to want this to show. I then come in here because I want to pipe out of the bottom of this. You can come in and break these bottom 2 and then just use one to replace the back because we're going to pipe out of the bottom. Build as you see fit. We'll take just a minute here. It's going to take me just a second to build all this. Obviously, if you have a builder's wand, this will go a lot faster, but you know, I'm kind of old. I like to do things a little slow. So I do a lot of things by hand that a lot of you will probably do much faster, but you know what? Hey, that is okay. If we could remember how to fly, that would be even better. All right. Now, when you're building this up again, like I said, you can use pretty much any material that you so choose. I just happen to like the look of clear glass, and it works for me. Now, when I breed these cows up, I typically breed them, especially in a farm of this size, to about 25. Your mileage may vary. You can do more or less. Keep in mind, the more cows that you have out, the more lag you're going to induce. I do play mine on a server that I have through Mediocre, so my server's pretty powerful. I don't have to worry about the lag too much, but this is essentially kind of how it works for me. We have our first 2 cows that we're going to go ahead and pop in here. Now, my suggestion to you is from here, just go ahead and start breeding them, right? As far as power for the animal rancher, this is kind of going to be solely up to you. You can power it with the RF as well. I do not. I use a separate power source for this, which I'm just going to go over and kind of snag mine because I don't have another one on me. So we're going to come over here. You're going to grab that one, which is our Spectre or Ender Spectre coil, which is going to get this powered. It's going to kind of get it start going once we put it on. Now, one other thing that you will need is you're going to need an upgrade. As you can see right here, when we do the show of the basic working area, it is only showing 1. We need to upgrade that. And if we look over in here, we're just going to kind of use the one from here. We're going to need a range add-on of +2. When you put the range add-on from the +2, what this does, this extends the area and shows that it will get the entire inside of this, working towards getting all the cows that you have in here. All right, we have all that going. Let's hide our area again. For our next section, what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we are going to start building out our area for the RF heaters, for the boilers. We need our water source. We are going to need our ender fluid conduits. The RF battery we're going to leave in here because we actually powered ours from another area. This is just showing you that's what you need to hook up to power your RF transmitters. Okay, so to start, we are putting our first row here of the heaters. We're going to take each one of our RFs and we're going to stick them here on the outside. If we show, that's going to power those. You can see them kind of getting the little redness here. Now this technically will power all of them, but I have one on either side just in case. We're then going to take our 10 boilers. Each one of these is going to go and sit on top of our RF heater. Just like this, we are going to take our infinite water source. Now, again, you can position these however you want, whatever works best for you. I usually stick it out here. We're going to take our ender fluid here. We need to come here and we are going to join all these boilers together because we're going to feed all of our water into them. So when we come here, we're going to make sure that we're extracting and that is on. We're not inserting. That's going to go into these. Now, here's where if you happen to have a probe that you can do this a lot easier, And you can just use the copy and paste feature. I just don't happen to have one on me, so we're just going to do it the old manual way. And we're just inserting water into all these boilers. As you can see, we're full of water. Once they start heating up, they're going to start producing steam. Steam is what we're going to be using to get all of this powered into those refineries. Let's finish our last two here. And we'll just make sure we're inserting, make sure that we are inserting, and inserting. Now, we run back over here and look at the other farm. We've taken the water. Now, I have it set up because I'm using this water for other places into another Endertank. If you so choose to do that, you can, but you don't have to. You can just run it from here. But we run all that water into these boilers. We then pull out of the top of these boilers the steam, and we put that into another Endertank, which is going to feed our 4 refineries, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to pop one on the top here, and then we'll do one more section coming up. That, and then we'll do another section coming up here. And then that'll be set up and ready for our first Endertank. Put those back in here, and we want to go ahead and get this process started. Now, here's where it kind of comes into kind of how you want to do this. You're going to need 2 of these to feed the 4 towers, and then 1 to get the steam itself from here. So that's going to be our first 3. We are going to choose what colors do we want. We're probably going to do gray, and then we'll add red just in case, right? And how we're going to do this. And we want all of these to match. So we're going to do 2 grays on the outside. On the outside, we will do a red in the middle. And that's going to be our first color that we're going to use. One other thing that I do not have here, we'll grab real quick, is we are going to need diamonds. Now, if you're doing this on a solo server or you're doing this in a solo world, it honestly doesn't matter. You don't have to kind of cap these off to make them personal, but if you are playing on a server, you're going to want to diamond these just to make sure nobody else is using your network, basically. Not that it matters, it's just Steam, but hey, you never want your farm to basically run out of stuff here. So we have our first one going in, and we're going to put you here. And then that fills up the steam, which is going to fill up our other tube with steam as well. Okay. Now what you may have to do is hit that little wheel there to make sure that it's exporting. Same thing here. We want to come to the other side. We want to make sure it's extracting. And then come over here to this other side and extracting. That way it is always extracting the steam out, and it's going to be filling up our other things with steam here. Got our cows going. We have our first little bank set up here. What we're then going to do is come over here, and we need to make space for our first set of machines. Now with this, you can lift them up if you want to. I kind of personally enjoy having them in the floor itself. So we're going to grab more of our heaters, and then we are going to get these all put down. Same thing here. We'll put our heaters here. Now with these, I like to take the wireless transmitters and I just put them underneath. That way they just hearing out of the way and they're powering all of these blocks. That way it's powering everything. That was powering everything. All of our heaters are getting power and we're good to go. Then we come in and we're going to look at building our first set of machines. Now, specifically with the machines themselves, these things can be a little difficult if you've never set them up to set them up, specifically with the support columns. Where and how and why it tells you to set up the support columns can be a little bit confusing because it does work on, I believe it's Y and Z axis, which you'll see. But just follow along the video. I will show you how to build them. When you put these blueprints down, you want the front of the machine to be on the very front block middle of what you're going to build. So we're going to put it here, and you can see it gives us a little outline for it. Same thing here. Oop, nope, we were in the wrong direction there. That back up. You do need to be in the correct direction, and we want it to face this way, so same thing. Now, if you notice, if you look on here, it tells you found error, it tells you the block location, and it tells you the support column in the correct axis. Now, when you go to build these, it basically wants you to build each straight up column at a time. we're not going to do that. I'm just going to show you how to build them, which will make it easier. Now, for the y-axis, what that means is you're going to be looking basically at the block, looking down. When you place that down, that's the y-axis. If you notice, now we're missing a support column in the z-axis. Z-axis is facing the block and placing it towards it. So that would be the z-axis. With this, the way it works is these ones are all going to be the z for the second 2 rows. Everything else will be in the y-axis, which is up and down like this. Have that there. Come around here to the back. We place our last 2. And then we have 2 more in the y for each one of these coming up. And then 1 more here. And then we work on placing the rest of the corrugated, which will just basically the same thing. Will be in the y-axis. I don't specifically know if it matters the axis with these, but I just try to follow suit because of the way the mod works. Place these, place these. That actually finishes out the machine. Once the machine is finished, just come up and right click on the front. That completes the actual machine. Now we have 1 more of these that we have to do, and then we'll get started on piping over our first little bit of crude, which is building up in here. Bear with me just 1 moment. I'm not going to do a bunch of jump cuts because this stuff honestly is just not that difficult to set up, and we're just going to get her finished. Come back around here to the back side. And again, we place in our z-axis. You guys have never tried to fly around with the Sanic armor on, or the Infinity helm, or Infinity armor itself? It's kind of a pain in the ass, I'm not going to lie. There we go. We got our first 2 machines. Now with these machines, the way it's going to happen is we're going to pipe that hot crude. It's going to come through here. We're going to pipe it into the back here, and then we'll cross over and basically share between the 2. That pumps the material into the refiner, into the heater itself. And then out of the top is where we're going to pull the hot crude, and then we'll pipe it over into the first building. But to do that, 2 things we're going to need. We're going to start here. Now again, this is where one of those where the kind of the black hole tank is. It's honestly not needed, but it depends on how you're going to build, right? I typically place it just because sometimes I build this first, and then we're going to insert, and then that gives me just a little bit starting of the fluid to get it just stored a little bit, depending on how fast we're going to get the rest of the farm built. Make sure we do extract, and then that way it should start filling up the tank. And then we have the second one that's going to come out here. So we're going to start our little line here. Bring this back this way. Pull that. This one is going to extract as well. We're not inserting, so we'll pull it out. We come over here. That'll connect us up into the back here. Just like that. And we bring this over here, and that connects into the back here. Again, make sure we're inserting. Now, you don't have to turn the extract off for this, but it's just force of habit more than anything for me. And then we come here, and across here, just like that, and then we're going to use this for our actual extract, in which we're going to come out this way. We will come over, pull from here, and then we're going to start making our next step, which is going to be our refineries. Over here, we are going to grab all 4 of our refinery setups because we are going to need to make 4 of them. Again, we need to make sure we're set up correct orientation. You do want to be in the front. Make sure you place it in the front middle block, and that basically sets up the refinery. There's our second refinery, third refinery, and fourth refinery. You do have to pardon me, I do get a tad bit parched as I'm speaking through these. But again, with this, a lot of this stuff is just going to be mote repetition. The more you do it, the more you get kind of used to doing it, the faster you'll get at setting these up. It's a little more difficult for me setting these up sometimes just purely for the armor. The armor is fun, the armor is great, but when you're setting this up, you shouldn't have too much of a problem because you're going to be having not armor that is flying this fast, but same thing, y-axis. So this is what we're going to be doing when we look down. And we'll finish the last column here. Come back over here, and again, we're going to do the axis for the Z, which is placing towards it. Like that. And then we'll switch over to the corrugated blocks. And one more row, we'll be all finished up. Now for the rest of these, I'm going to do just a quick jump cut. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me create all the rest of them, but that's how you do each one of them. Hit that block in the front and it creates your refinery. And if you notice here in the refinery, you've got any one of these sides that can be pulled out of for the various fluids. We're going to insert the first fluid here into the back and the bottom, and then we're going to use the little side ports that you see here. That's where our steam that we set up here first is going to go. I'll see you guys back here in just a minute when I get all the rest of these built, and I'll show you how we start setting all the fluid up. And through the use of phenomenal wizardry movie magic, we have 4 fully built refinery towers. Now, specifically with these, again, each one of these is going to take one type of fluid, and it will break it down into 3 separate fluids. These can accept fluid in the back, which is where we're going to pump the first bit into, and then also from the side, which is where we're going to put our steam. So if you remember earlier, we had our 2 ender tanks. These are going to come. We're going to sit one here, which will feed those 2. And then we are going to put one here and feed those 2. Also, through the use of movie magic, suddenly we have more ender fluid conduit. Woohoo, buddy. Make sure we have that on an extract. Make sure these are on an insert. Again, if you have the one perp, whatever it is, you can use that to just do copy and paste features for all of these, which makes this go a little faster. I'm just being kind of lazy. I just want you to know it's fine. I'm old. I do things slow. It's kind of how we do. Also, since you've made it this far in the video, and before I forget, if you are enjoying it, you do feel like you're learning something from the content, you are kind of having a good time hanging along when we do this build, please make sure and hit that subscribe button so that way you know when we put out a new video. Make sure and hit the bell notification so it notifies you. Make sure and give the video a thumbs up. That would be a huge help. As well, if you wouldn't mind, make sure and leave a comment. Let me know, do you guys like this style of video? Do you like the video itself? Do you have any comments on the video? If you're going to put any kind of criticism, I do take that very well. Just please make sure it's constructive. If you're going to just put stuff out there for no purpose, it does you no good. But if you actually have constructive criticism, hey, Finn, I think it would look a little better, or you could do a little better doing this, I would love to hear that as well. If you say, hey, Finn, I absolutely love the video, it is phenomenal, epic, vocal content, I would take that as well. But either way, thank you guys so much for being here again. But let's get back to it. Make sure, same thing, we're going to extract from here, and then that should feed our steam into all of these towers and give us... Oh, no, wait. Oh, wait. Do we have steam? Do we have steam? Oh, wait, maybe. I don't know. Are we not making enough steam? Could we be making enough steam? I don't know. It may take it just a little while to fill up the steam, so that essentially is going to be how it's going. And let's just make sure we got all this going. We have that on extract. All those are on insert correct. Now, what we may not have done is we may not have set these all to extract. There we go. See, sometimes it happens that way. You get along in the video, or even if you get along in the build, you'll kind of notice, hey, what is not working here? Why is this not doing what I need it to do? And sometimes you just got to run back a little bit, check on it and see. And that's the big thing with these videos. I want you guys to understand not everything is perfect. I'm not going to edit everything out. You are going to see the good. You're going to see the bad. You're going to see where we kind of mess up, where things go. And then you'll be like, hey, oh, well, look. Oh, we need to insert this. That's why. Oh, maybe that's why I don't have any steam, because we messed up on these. We need to make sure and insert these, not extract. And see, now all is well with the world. Again, sometimes you have to run back through just a little bit and say, hey, I kind of messed up here, so I need to fix this. So here, we need to make sure we're inserting. Again, this is going to start the process of building up our couple of fluids. We got steam pumping in, and then we need to come over here, and we have to see, we have plenty of fluid here, which is making the hot crude. And then we just need to come in here, and we need to make sure we're extracting this. Same thing, come over here. We're going to extract this. What that is going to then do is come over here, and as you're going to see, boom, puts the first little bit in here. It's going to use the steam, and it's going to start breaking this down into our 3 oils. Now comes the really fun part. I'm not kidding. It's really not the really fun part, but it's one of the parts that we need to do anyway. So we need to take all of these. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to come over and we're going to set each one of these up with their own tank. And then we're going to pull out of each one of those tanks to start feeding the rest of them. But each one of these is going to need its own tank. So we're going to go through and just get all of these set up for each one of the towers. Here we go. And there. We are going to get all of these going. While we're here, we are going to go ahead and make sure we have the extract on each one of these. And then insert again. This is where having the the one per whatever it's called to be able to copy and paste would be super helpful if you so choose to use it. And you can use their copy and paste function. Just insert. We're going to extract from you. Make sure we've got you on extract. You're on insert. And then we're just double check and make sure we have you on extract. We have you on insert. Same thing here. We're going to come over, make sure we have you on extract, make sure you're on insert, rinse, and repeat. You get the point there, right? And last one, make sure that's inserted, make sure that's extracted. We'll come over here to the other side, get the next 2 towers done. Extract. Insert, extract here. We're going to insert. We're going to extract. And then we're going to insert. And then last but certainly not least, this set of ones as well. Now we're going to do the next step come up here in just a second, which is also going to involve all these. So we're going to extract. Insert. Extract and then insert. And here we are going to extract and insert. Now, if you notice each one of these, we have heavy oil going in here, we have light oil going in here, and we have LPG going in here. We're basically starting by milking the cows. All that crude oil gets sent over here, back into the front of these oil heaters. Oil heaters are taken, heating them up, turning them into hot crude. We are pulling them out of here into the bottom of the first tower. The first tower is taking each one of these, breaking it up into the first 3 oils, which is, again, the LPG, the light oil, and the heavy oil. Now, what we need to do is we need to take each one of these fluids and we need to put them into each one of our next set of refineries. Now, here's where all the color coding I was talking to you about a little earlier comes in, because we're going to need 2, 2, and 2. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have one of these set up to each one of those fluids, and then each one of these is going to go into the other tower. Now, however you set this up in the color code is completely up to you. We are going to do this. We should have our lapis over here, so we're just going to use the breakdown of these couple of different colors. We're not using the gray this time, so we're going to put that away, and we're just going to be festive, shall we say. All right. Our first one is going to be blue, red, and purple. Our next one is going to be red, purple, and blue. And our third one is going to be purple, blue, and red. Those will be our three colors. We are going to go ahead and diamond all of these just to make sure that nobody else can use them, that we have them for our own use. We don't want anybody else taking our valuable LPG. It's all for us, nobody else. Now, however you set these up is up to you. I personally take these because sometimes I put the wrong thing wrong place, and then you got to break the system and then fix it. I basically just do them in order, right? So the very first one is going to be the heavy oil. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our tanks like this. We're going to grab you. And then what we do is just out of the front of this is where each one of these goes. And then the first set we're going to put here. And then the first set is going to go here. That will feed back into it, right? Let's go get our second set to put in. And this just keeps it a little bit separated personally for me. Now, is this something the way you have to do it? Absolutely not. But this just works out best for me. Grab our second set. We never, once we got to the end of the pack, we never replaced our pickaxe because we had to use our Draconic to make the Sword of the Cosmos, and we never replaced it. So we are stuck using our old Emmanuelan pick, but that's okay. Take our second one, and our second one goes here. And then we'll come over and grab our third set. There we go. Grab our third set, bring our third set over here. And again, you can change up the configuration of this. You can change up how it looks. This is just my basic setup just to give you the idea of how we do it, how I place it, how things go. We're going to come over here. We're going to do this for this third one, which would be that one. We are going to extract from here, and then we are going to insert into the bottom. Same thing here. We're going to put another conduit here. We're going to extract from you, and then we're going to insert into the bottom. One here, we will extract from you. We will insert into the bottom, and then for each one of these, we are going to extract out of these. Extract, and then we'll go to the back of each one of these, and we should insert for each one of these. Extracting, inserting, extracting, and then we're just inserting. Extracting, and then we are inserting. Now, each one of these should be getting all of these put in for the next set. We got heavy oil going in, and it's going to start making the next set of fluids. As you can see, we have oil residue going in, we have the fuel going in, and we have the lubricant going in. On the next set of towers, we have diesel, we have kerosene, we have gasoline. Over here, we have liquid plastic. Oh, yes, that's what we were really looking for. So this whole farm was really to make this. Again, this looks like a bit of a setup, and it is, but I typically find this just material-wise, setup-wise, much better and much easier than trying to set up the liquid plastic with Mediocre. I'm just not a fan. But we have our liquid plastic, we have our naphtha, and then we have our last one, which should be getting made, which is maybe not, or we forgot, which is very possible. Yep. See, sometimes you mess up. Sometimes you got to fix it. We messed up the conduits. We got to come over here and just break it real quick. Put our conduit back in. Make sure that's on insert. Make sure you are on extract. And now we have our natural gas going in. So that is the basic setup. The only last thing that we need to do, and this is really going to be however you want to set it up, right? So we're going to end up putting one more. We'll need basically two more ender tanks, but we're going to set up one more here. I'm not going to set up the one on the other side. I'll just show you the one that I already have set up. But here is where we would come here. And we would just put a little offshoot here. We're going to put another little offshoot like this. With this, we would extract from here. We would insert here, and this is going to start filling up our liquid plastic. Now, this setup itself is done other than breeding your cows. Obviously, like I said, in my setup, I have roughly 25. I stole 2 for that one. I have roughly 25 of these, which are milking it constantly to produce my liquid plastic. With mine, I have the liquid plastic already done, so I'm going to show you. This is filled up. I have it going back to my home base. Which, if we whoosh and zoom and whoosha whoosha, we go back to the house. We basically have it coming in here, feeding into our liquid plastic machine or our plastic mixer, which we then have the 3 different colors, which allows us to make all of our plastic. Now, if you don't want to have it over here near your system, that's fine. You can have it over, you can have it wherever. Let's put our boots back on real quick. You can have it wherever you have it set up. I have a machine basically set up here. So what you could do is just put another pipe, set it up, have it feed into here, put all your stuff in, and you have liquid plastic. But there it is. There is the setup for using the phenomenal Pneumaticraft boat out, actually having to use all of their machines to set up liquid plastic. This is using the Magneticraft, which is my side of it, which is the way that I much more prefer it. And that's the end of the video. So seriously, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, this is the first in our series. We're going to be doing a couple of other farms. So again, if you haven't yet, please make sure, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. If you felt that you did enjoy the video, make sure and give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you did or didn't like about the video. Constructive criticism is always best. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much and have a great day. Okay, bye.